know, I'm kind of just like taking it easy right now. Just, you know, like transitioning, trying to like be a normal civilian.
Yeah. Which looks like what?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are the closest thing to normal civilians that I've seen, you know, when I was inside, you know. So just getting familiar with people, you know.
Yeah.
Being in society. I mean, we're not supposed to go to the store. Like, technically, I'm not supposed to go across the street unless I'm getting on the bus to go back. Like,
so it's just to the house to school.
Yeah, basically from there, my one route to come here, I go to class, do my thing, then go back. You know, I'm still tethered.
Right. Yeah.
So like the ominous like feeling of
being watched.
Yeah, it's basically like jail still.
Yeah.
But you know, we get 3 hot meals. We sleep in pretty much a regular bed. The mattress is like a normal mattress instead of like a vinyl 2-inch thick thing that you would sleep on in prison. But you know, it's like a rehab center.
Yeah.
The first 60 days is all intensive groups. You know, like thinking for change, criminal thinking, criminal behavior. They do there was a job coordinator. I don't think there is one right now, but they help you with employment preparation, do a resume. They have a lot of affiliations with job agencies, apprenticeship programs for construction, laborers union. You can go to ARC, Anti-Recidivism Coalition. You know, basically like anywhere there's like reentry, like help and resources, they will kind of link you up with them. Because of the restrictions of Vancouver, I can't go to my mom's house or to my cousin's house or to my uncle's house for family functions. So it's like you're almost there, but you're not quite. You know? Now you can see it. It's right there. It's like sitting down at a buffet and then them saying, okay, there's steak on the table, but you can only eat the bologna. You know, if they have suspicions, you'll end up on the list. Yeah. If you smell like liquor, they're going to do a breathalyzer, and you know you can't beat a breathalyzer. So those people that do breathe, you know, positive or whatever, they go back to prison. If you piss positive, you go back. If I decided to just walk home from here, not back to the program, but back to San Fernando Valley, like they would be like, hey, this guy's deviating, and then they would come and arrest me. And they would take me back to Chino.
Yeah. Do you
And then I'd go back to California City.
How old were you when you went to prison?
When I first got arrested, I was 17. They did a drug test. Then they made me do a psychiatric evaluation because when they put me in the holding tanks, I started flipping out. You know, like you put someone who's on hallucinogens into a concrete box, you're not gonna like have good results from that. You know, but
yeah.
So like when I was in the holding tank, I was like smashing my head into the wall and just flipping out, beating on the door.
And you were 17?
Yeah, I was 17. And then I got on the phone. I'm talking to my mom, and in all my experiences getting arrested, you know, the countless times I've been in handcuffs, my mom was always able to come pick me up from the station. You know, it wasn't a big deal. And then when she's like, hey, look, I can't come pick you up, they won't let me. Then I was like, I realized, oh, this is serious this time, you know? Like I have to stay here. I'm finally going to spend the night in jail, which ended up, one night turned into 11 years. All my brothers have struggled with substance abuse too. They think that I should be doing NAAA and treatment and all this stuff consistently. And my argument is that that wasn't part of my recovery the whole time. My education, the dogs, I've found different things that have, you know, kind of set my mind straight. And I've never really participated consistently in NAAA, and I don't discredit it because it's helped millions of people around the world. So it's just not my recovery. Education primarily was what rewired my brain. I did 3 years of substance abuse, criminal thinking, cognitive behavior. I've done more of it here at the program. I've done a lot of those things, and they just never struck a chord the way that learning new things through education, academics, through dog training, that honestly, the dog rehabilitation shows you more about yourself. I think the overall theme of like rehabilitation is like finding those things in life that like give you more fulfillment than like the instant gratification you get from drugs, you know. This is like one of those positive things that you know, it would deter somebody from going back into that mentality, you know. Just as a person, my confidence level for sure was like bolstered, communicating with females, you know.
I've heard that's quite a thing, actually. You've been in since you were 17.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had the chance to like be a responsible man in society, and like, you know, in prison, after all that time, like all you ever see is like, you know, TV and magazines where women are objectified, and so like that's your perception, you know, and then the vulgarity and the way that we talk and all that stuff, it's like you can't be that way. It's like not accepted in society, you know. And so like being around females where we're on like you know, as much of a professional level as we can be, you know, you have to like give and receive the mutual respect, you know?
What I was physically doing wasn't getting the results, so I had to switch it up. Switch it up. You don't get locked into one thing, otherwise you're a one-trick pony. And you're not honoring the dog, and you're not doing yourself any better.
So what is that like, day one of the program, when like you guys found out women were teaching?
Well, you know, I lived in the unit right across the hallway, so I'd seen you guys coming in, and I was like, oh, okay, well, okay, they must be teaching. And then someone said that I think McCall had told me, he's like, yeah, they work with Cesar Millan at the dog psychology center. I was like, are you serious? I couldn't believe that the prison had actually gotten like people that were involved that like deeply, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so they're not bullshitting. Like doing all that time, you see through a lot of the charades that they put on, like, oh yeah, we're gonna get a dog program, we're gonna do this to help the inmates, and it's like, you know, you never see it actually come to fruition, you know. You're like, okay, that's just another thing that they're claiming that they're doing for the inmates to justify their rehabilitation budget, you know. And then when you actually see the program, and then like people are enjoying it, and then like we would walk to yard and I'd see the guys out there, I'm like, man, I gotta get in this program. They look like they're having a great time, you know. I would hear, you know, the things that they were learning. When we came in, I didn't know what to expect, and the first day I was like really, really nervous, you know. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to say anything stupid,
Yeah,
you know, even though I always do.
Letting that go, not worrying about what people think. So, and this will be important for you guys in here, asking for someone else for help, asking one of the older guys for help, letting it go that you might not know what to do in this situation, and that's okay.
You can't be a weak leader. The dogs won't follow you, you know. So there's one thing that like Zach told me, I believe was in the interview. He's like, you strike me as someone who could be a good leader, and I didn't really think about it, you know. It wasn't something that really like, because in prison I'm always trying to kind of like pull back from everything. I'm not trying to be a leader or anything like that, you know. And I didn't understand what he was saying. You know, I didn't really get what he was telling me until later on. I started to understand, like, you know, pack dynamics and all that stuff. So like that kind of bolstered my confidence. And then like when I realized it wasn't going to be a cakewalk to learn everything, especially starting from scratch, just getting to a point where I'm like somewhat competent was a big boost in my confidence for sure. And it's one more like mountain that I was able to figure out how to climb. That like it just reassured me that whatever I try to accomplish, it's possible, because, you know, things that I thought were impossible, like I didn't know what the hell I was doing at first with the dogs, you know. I probably looked like a fucking jackass, you know. And then I got to a point where some people would ask me for advice, and sometimes it would actually like resonate, and they would use it and then it would work. I'm like, okay, now I kind of get it.
Yeah.
You know. So like with Derek, because he's so sensitive, I'll wait before I go in until he's in a more calm state. I want to make him feel comfortable when I enter into you know, his sanctuary.
Yep.
But I also want him to respect me when I come in there. I want him to understand the boundary of the gate. I want him to understand the boundary I set around myself, and I want him to understand that we're not going to do anything until he's calm. I'll just leave it here for him to so he knows that we're not immediately going to go out, but that he knows that, hey, you know, it's time to get ready. I want you calm. I'm trying to associate the leash with calm. So if I put it on him when he's calm and when I'm calm, then he's not going to have any anxiety about it. And you know, we're going to start off on the right foot.
You're getting these dogs ready for their home, right? So it's important that this dog goes to their home understanding that a crate or a kennel and quiet alone time is a good thing.
The level of ignorance in prison is like the biggest like problem, because the average like interaction with you know, a CDCR corrections officer and like the average convict, you know, is like there's not a lot of intelligence there most of the time, you know. It's pretty much just like a pissing contest all the time, and it's not conducive to growth and rehabilitation. It's like you throw all these maladaptive people into like a pressure cooker, you know, and you don't like, you're basically just creating an environment where the criminal underworld could just flourish, you know, and there's no real accountability. It's like, you know, what do you expect is going to happen? A lot of violence, a lot of criminal behavior, a lot of predatory behavior, and that's one thing I don't appreciate at all about the system, is how predatory everybody thinks. It's all about, how can I fuck this person over, or how can I manipulate this person to do what I want them to do, or how can I get this person to give me what I want, you know?
And how did the dog program help that?
You know what?
Oh,
I think it was more just being able to separate myself from that ignorance a little bit more.
Physically removed.
Yeah. The racial politics in California are universal throughout the whole system, except for on SNY yards. So like at California City, it wasn't that big of a deal, but some prisons, it would be a problem for some people if, let's say, I wanted to walk a lap with a black dude. We could work together at our jobs. We could do what we need to do to function, but like I couldn't sit in the day room at the same table with someone like Henderson or Cool. Like we couldn't sit there. We couldn't sit there and eat together.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or play cards together. But like if the dog is having an issue, we could work together on
Right.
that. More secure prisons are on edge more. So like the likelihood that I would have a friend like that of another race in that place is slimmer, because it's more like a war zone, you know? You're not going to be hanging out with the enemy, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the mentality that they breed. And that's the thing about prison that I hate the most, is that everybody has to adopt that mentality.
Segregation of
Yeah.
politics.
So your main thing was drugs, right?
Drugs, yeah.
How old were you when you were first?
The first time, honestly, the first time I think I was like 6 years old. My brother got me high, I think.
On what?
Weed.
So-
I didn't start actually like consistently smoking weed until I was like 11 years old, I think. And then it was pretty much it was off and on, but like as I got into like high school, like it just didn't stop, you know.
Yeah.
And like I had gotten arrested with weed, I'd gotten truancy, curfew, petty theft, a whole bunch of like minor misdemeanor stuff as a kid. But I mostly smoked weed for like close to 8 years. And then like when I started to actually like do ecstasy pills and mushrooms,
Yeah.
I was about 16.
Yeah.
I started drinking off and on since like I was about 13. I got arrested for stealing alcohol, but after that I stopped stealing liquor and I stopped pretty much drinking liquor, but that's when I started to get into harder stuff. And then I didn't really start doing cocaine until I was 17, and I didn't start selling weed until I was 17. Didn't start selling cocaine until shortly after I started selling ecstasy pills, LSD, mushrooms. I never really messed with meth and heroin too much. I mean, I tried that stuff. I never smoked crack. I never slammed anything. I never smoked PCP. I never smoked meth. I tried snorting meth twice, and then I snorted cocaine for like a year.
How old were you the first time you got arrested?
I think I was like 13. I mean, my mom was always working, you know, so like she wasn't there to like enforce the rules until she came home from work, you know, and by that
Right.
damage is already done by that point, you know. I always tell her like we did what we did. It's not because you're a bad mom. It's just because we're so unruly that your options for making sure that we all survive and then trying to instill some kind of discipline, like
Practicality of it.
it was just difficult for her to keep us under control, you know.
Yeah. Where was your father?
He's when I was really young, he was in and out of jail, prison. I actually didn't meet my dad until after I got arrested.
Oh, okay.
So like when I was 2, you know, he was like getting high, doing his thing. My mom told him, because he left a couple times, came back. My mom told him, if you're gonna leave, don't come back, you know. And so he left and didn't come back. He was living under bridges and doing dope and drinking, and he was like a homeless. He was really, really like horribly like off, you know. He was
Yeah.
like not doing well for a long
Yeah.
time, and he was in and out of prison. And then the last time he went to prison, he was in a wheelchair. He had like a back injury or something, and he had gotten off the drugs. He paroled. He got housing. He's his veterans pension for medical and all that stuff. And so he's been sober 14 years now, and he's very, very Christian. So like he you know went that route and reconnected with the Lord or whatever. When I got arrested, my mom told me, hey, you know, your brother's been talking to your dad. He wants to write you. So is it all right if we give him your address? And I was in juvenile hall, and so he started writing me. We started talking on the phone, and so our relationship started there. You know, when I was 18, and ever since, he's been the one who's always writing me. He's always there, like to, you know, try to offer advice because he's done the whole prison thing.
been
You know,
there.
so.
And he struggled with the substance.
Yeah, like
abuse.
very heavily. I've always gotten this like, what are you doing in prison? You're way too smart for this, right? And I don't think that about myself, and I'm like, well, you see me now after I've done like years of time, and I've reflected, and I've you know, done however many classes. It's like, well, I was just a stupid, you know, ignorant kid. I was on drugs. I was running the streets. Like, I'm just a different person now. I'm not any smarter or more capable or competent than anyone else. I just used my time to educate myself because I didn't want to be stupid anymore, you know, or I didn't want to be ignorant. Yeah, I've done all kinds of programs, but nothing like that, you know, nothing like Pawsitive Change. There's programs where people come in and then they, you know, it's like they're putting on a charade, you know, and like this, like we said, this is something you can't really, like, you can sensationalize it as much as possible, which is, it's good because it's going to bring publicity, but like the week in and week out, there's no charade there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Bringing dogs in to stay for 3 months at a time and having them hang out in the cell and go out and do the agility and whatever, like we pretty much could teach them whatever we want to teach them, and like, you know, whatever goes along with the program, obviously, but like the free time that we have, it's like it's almost like you're at home with your own dogs, which I don't have experience with that, but you know,
Felt like it.
you're just hanging
That's
out.
what you needed when you were 13.
Maybe.
Well,
might have made things different.
and
for
not
sure.
not to mention the things that you're teaching them, the things they're teaching you.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's the
I think
whole
that's
thing about
probably
dogs.
more like it's definitely more subtle than, oh, we're here to train these dogs to do this. It's not what we're doing for them. It's what, in the long run, what they do for us. And I don't think most people realize that until they reach a certain point, you know? Because like a lot of people, when they first come in and they're like, what the hell are these women talking about? This is energy and
Hippie
emotions plus this equals, like, what the hell are you talking about? But then it clicks at a certain point where they're like, oh, okay, now I get it, you know? The dog's reflecting what I'm putting out, you know? You definitely have to like constantly check yourself, your energy, what you're putting out. And like, if you're insecure or you're angry or all of those things, it's like trying to send out like an encrypted message, you know, where it's so discombobulated that it doesn't reconfigure on the other end. It's just lost in translation, you know? And so like you gotta kind of have to think, why the hell am I so angry or nervous or insecure about this thing, you know? And like the more you try to work with a dog in that mind frame, the more it's like a feedback loop. You're just gonna get more angry, the dog's gonna be less responsive. So like it's like gonna go downhill very fast, you know? You can really delve into what your triggers are if that's, you know, if you're at that point, like, why do I get so angry? And then if your anger is what leads to your drinking or your insecurities or whatever, like,
Yeah.
you can kind of, it's like putting the puzzle together, like the skills and the insight that you gain from the program through self-awareness and checking your energy, like you learn how to deal with that and keep it in check more so than you would in another program where it doesn't really require you to be like genuine about your feelings. You know, I mean, I can mask my feelings and my intentions from people all day long, but it's not gonna make me a better dog trainer. The guys that find their way into the program, like there's a reason why they're there, you know. It may be like they just think about things differently from the outset, but you know, there's probably a lot of people that were like, all right, whatever, I'll just go kick it with some dogs and whatever, do my time. But then they get there and then they start to realize like what they're learning and what the value is in it.
Right.
And it has a transformative effect on them. But I think a lot of people get into it because they're looking for that already, you know? Where like you have those individuals where it kind of creeps up on them, but then, you know, I think it takes a different type of person to be open to that in that environment.
To stick it out.
When everything's kind of against you in a sense, you know, when everybody's criticizing you, like, you know, it's like, oh, it's not tough or whatever criticisms they say.
This is just a problem in general society, especially in the U.S. Like how we define masculinity and how we define tough is
skewed.
Yeah, very skewed. And like to me, I think being vulnerable and having open heart is one of the toughest things. Showing your true self. Having a conversation when you don't want to, that's tough. Anyone can hit anything.
Instead of just masking it with false
Anyone
bravado.
Can yell, yeah.
You know, it's like I had to like teach myself how to be a man, you know? Because the examples in prison are not adequate examples. I had to like figure out what does it mean to be a man in society today, and then teach myself, you know, how to conduct myself in that way, which I fall short of that all the time. But like she's saying, the image of what a man is supposed to be is, you know. It definitely creates a different environment. It creates a different like dynamic inside. But I think like a lot of the other programs are just band-aids. But this one, if it's embraced thoroughly and executed like effectively, on a consistent basis, then I think you're definitely gonna see a lot more results from it. Most people like they get in trouble because of their lack of concern or their lack of understanding. Positive change is like, now you know better, you know, or now you should know better. Now you should know yourself better, you know, to where, you know, you can make the right choices before you get drawn into that old same negative mentality, you know?
But do you feel like your time, 11 years, was
adequate?
What you deserved?
I mean, I always think about things like if you believe like in like fate and destiny, and it's like everything that has happened, it was supposed to happen. You know what I mean? Like it's exactly the way it should have worked out. But I don't always think that way. It's just if you have that kind of perspective on it. But I think that it could have gone so much worse, but at the same time I feel that it's excessive. and a lot of my family, and a lot of people that I know, they're like, wow, why did you get so much time for that? Whereas someone in another state that's, you know, more like, I don't know, the prison industrial complex in California is like booming business, you know?
Yeah.
And some other states where, you know, kids kind of get a slap on the wrist and it's like, okay, you know, you made a mistake, let's try to find help for this person instead of, you know, capitalize on their head, you know?
Yeah.
Things might have gone differently. There's a lot of other issues there that, you know, I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh yeah, I got what I deserved, you know? But like at the same time, that's what the court system did, you know? That's the decision that they came to. That's the best offer they could give me. So
Yeah.
I'm not
This is
gonna-
where you're at today.
Yeah.
and honestly,
Hopefully
all the
one day
things that I've
they'll have
accomplished
a
and the people that I've met and the experiences that I've had, like I wouldn't have had any of those. It wouldn't have shaped me in any kind of way if
Right.
it had been in, you know, another result. If,
Yeah.
Like if I would have gotten only 10 years, I would have never came to the program, and like coulda, shoulda, woulda, who knows what have happened. But
Right.
this
Yeah.
is what did happen.
I get it a lot. Now these guys are
You're
getting
going
out,
into
Kim.
prison?
Well, yeah, and now they're out. And they know you now on a personal level. Be careful, right? So like there's and that's understandable because with what they don't
Of
know,
course,
they
yeah.
don't know, right? They still see you as
I don't trust most of the people.
right.
I wouldn't
right.
want them anywhere near my family.
And I'm not naive enough to be like, oh great, you know,
You think I would want me near my family?
So, but I mean, but what is your response to that if knowing that having that kind of stigma still attached and trying to come out and being a part of
I definitely have like prepared myself for that because, you know, you I can't be delusional about things because I've been there so long. It's like I just have to like respect people's right or desire or
Concerns.
whatever concerns.
yeah.
And operate however I need to operate to just function in society because, you know, no matter what I do or what I say, they're gonna have their perception about them. Like
Right.
I can sit here and try to, you know, be as eloquent as possible in explaining
Right.
why I'm a good person or why you shouldn't be afraid that I'm gonna break in your house or whatever
Right.
whatever the issue might be. Like no matter what I say, people are gonna have that same like thought in the back of their mind, you know.
Right.
So hopefully, just over time, if they're willing to, you know, take a deeper look at things, hopefully my actions will speak for themselves.
Very good.
You know.
Very nice. Well, and I say too, the whole point of this program is to help rehabilitate dog and man, right? So
Yeah.
like if the program's working the way we think it is,
Yeah.
which it is, then it's not like they're waiting to get out so they can come find us.
Except maybe just a thank you. You know what I mean?
right,
Thank
right.
you guys.
Yeah. Building the relationship with the guys through over the couple years, and to this point today, even
Yeah.
for me, it's emotional because being able to see you guys outside and seeing you now applying yourself in the way that this is you. You're not inmate number so and so.
Yeah, yeah,
This
exactly.
is who you are, and it's incribly fulfilling.
In
and
our
I'm so
rawest
grateful.
form.
Yeah. But I'm grateful for being a part of your
I appreciate it.
path and being able to be here today.